To his right, we also have RUMAH, who is the Director of Programmatic Policy for RARE in Indonesia. Welcome, Arwan. Now, before we start our session and really dive into hearing about the guidelines that we will be relaunching here, I would like to ask that we first watch a short video about the guidelines for the utilization of marine protected area fishery zones by local and traditional communities through partnership. So please enjoy our video.
Indonesia aims to be the global maritime excellence. To realize this goal, the government is strongly committed to protect and sustainably manage its marine resources. The Indonesian government is highly determined in establishing 20 million hectare marine conservation areas, or MCAs, by 2020. Currently, central and local governments have established 17 million hectare MCAs throughout Indonesia's waters. Marine conservation areas are protected marine areas that are managed using zoning systems to achieve a sustainable fisheries and environmental management. Researchers have proven that effective conservation areas provide positive contributions for fish resources sustainability through protection measures as well as spillover effect. One of the requirements for an effective conservation area is the scientific assessment of the area's oceanography, ecology, biology, and community socio-economic conditions so that the designated zones can achieve its conservation area management objectives. Operationally functioning sustainable fishery zones as part of a conservation area that can sustainably utilized by communities living in and around MCAs to improve their livelihood are one of the main objectives in conservation area management. This is achieved by applying fisheries management, including implementation of fishery regulation on assigning fishers eligibility to fish in the zone, when, where, how, what, and how much fishers can harvest, catch reporting, and enforcement. As part of fish resources utilization in sustainable fishery zones in MCAs for local and traditional communities through partnerships, the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, through the regulation of Director General of Marine Spatial Management, has issued a guideline on utilization of sustainable fisheries zone in marine conservation areas for captured fisheries activities by local and traditional communities. A partnership is a collaborative relationship between two or more parties based on equality, transparency, and mutual benefits. Through this mechanism, a Marine Conservation Areas Partnership Program is designed. Marine Conservation Area Partnership Program is a set of planned, desired outputs, and implementation of partnership activities which are in line with Marine Conservation Area Management and Zones. Through partnership program organized by MCA Authority and local community groups, a sub-zone with specific boundaries within MCA zone for sustainable fisheries will be designated as an area to be exclusively managed by certain eligible community-based fisher groups based on approved management plan and a set of fishery governance measures. As the only group permitted to fish in the area, it is in their best interest to ensure the long-term health of their resources. In return for the exclusive fishing privilege, fishers agree to be accountable to fisheries management regulations that will help ensure the sustainability of their resources in the zone. This chart illustrates the management stages for partnership in captured fisheries activities in sub-zone of MCA's Sustainable Fisheries Zone by local and traditional community groups. Legal recognition of utilization of Marine Conservation Area Sustainable Fisheries Subzone for community groups through partnership agreement is an innovation in Indonesia's Marine Conservation Area management. Together, we can build sustainable fisheries sector and make Indonesia the world's maritime axis.
I hope you all enjoyed the video and got a little bit of an understanding about what the guidelines are all about. To kick things off, we're going to have a little bit of a dialogue here, and I'm going to invite my friend Arwan up to this stage here to provide a little bit of background on the creation and the journey that was taken to actually establish and create the guidelines themselves. Arwan?
Thank you, Lisa. It's an honor for me to be here again. After this morning, I was moderating like what you're doing, Lisa. I was sitting there, and I think it's not fair if I'm standing alone here, while I have to acknowledge and recognize that the process of journey in order to have that guideline, I need someone to be here with me. Who is a government official, who reviewed, who participated in the discussion, who legalized, and finally helped, enact the regulation, the DG decree on this regulation, on the guideline. So with that, I will present together with Pak Amir Hakim. Pak Amir, please come forward with me here. We will have a joint presentation about the process, the chronology, what else? The journey, basically the journey on how finally we have this guideline. I will add some explanations later after Pak Amir give his short remarks. Pak Amir, please.
Thank you, Pak Arwan. Thank you, Miss Anor, Pak Agus, Pak Gerald, and Yani. First of all, maybe a little background how this guideline need for us, for government, because our marine protected area was built based on ecological and also based on economical and social. So we know that the MPA has to give benefit to the people of the local area, especially the one that near the marine protected area itself. That's why we are government not only thinking how to protect the ecology, the biodiversity itself, like coral reef and reef fish and other, but also how can we improve the local people or traditional people to use some area in marine protected area that can straight to get to the people and get benefit for the people. That's why it was conducted from 2015. Last year we developed in the first, maybe around February 2015, is because also direct from Pak Agus Pak Agus is also direct because he concerned about the how to manage the military protected area, and then the local people and also the traditional people can get benefit from the MPA. That's why I coordinate with the other NGOs like RARE, WWF, WCS also, and then CNC and CI. We gathered for several meetings, maybe 2 or 5 times, including workshop and the little meeting of around 3 times, and then 2 workshops in national. We invite the district and the manager of the MPA. Then after that, we finalized the draft at the end of 2015. In 2016, we have thought that this has to be legalized by the government. So in February we are in February, I think, yeah. February, we conduct role of Director General. July 2016, and my DG is signed the regulation of a guideline how to make the area for local people and use and get benefit from the MPA. That's a little background from us, and then maybe Pak Arwan can add some detail how the process done and how the DG can sign the regulation. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Amir. So that's the kitchen business. So that's the story behind the guideline. Pak Amir has basically informed us the way we are coming to this stage. I just would like to add a bit. I recall that in these 2 regional workshops we held. One was held in Mataram in West Nusa Tenggara. The other one is in Kendari. It's in Southeast Sulawesi province. We really get a lot of inputs from the local people, from the local marine and fishery services. And when we introduced the concept about this community-based fisheries management, we feel that we match in the middle, because actually in some sites they have customary laws. We call it in bahasa Indonesia masyarakat adat, that practice this kind of management or since long time ago, since their ancestors. So when they heard about this concept, and then they heard that the government is planning to enact or set up a regulation that can formalize or can legally recognize those practices, then they were very happy, and they hope that the process afterward can be participative and also based on the inputs that we received during the workshop. The other point that I would like to add is that during the multi-stakeholders preparatory meeting, either in the Ministry of Marine Affairs, Agus office, held in other NGOs offices, including RARE office in Bogor, the neighbor of WCS office. The process is very, very participative. We were very open to new ideas, to feedback, to concerns. We debate, the hot issues, the strategic issues openly, and we didn't force, to agree on something if we really don't get that common understanding. So the government officials were very patient. They are really waiting. And they gave their guidance. The leadership is on their side. They really play a very important role in this process. And we kind of wait for the right momentum to finally doing kind of a soft launching on July, like Pak Amir said. So there was an event in Jakarta called Regional Fishery Summit, 27 and 28 July this year. And we would like to take that momentum. So right after that summit on the 29th July, Pak Agus really worked very hard. He did his best to convince the DG, Pak Setion Bramantya Satyamurti Purwadi. He's still new in his position as a DG, but he's a very committed government official who really want to move forward with all his programs, especially the ones that empower the local fishermen, small fishermen. So when he knows that Pak Agus and other partners are working on this draft DG decree, Pak Bramantya really support us. He really encourage us, to do our best and then to give him a good draft before he can really be confident to sign the decree. So that happened, I think he signed on the 28th or 29th, Pak Agus. We launched it on 29th. So he signed it also on the 10th, or what day? Okay, so I think 28th is signed, and then Pak Agus informed the stakeholders that finally the decree was signed by the DG, and then the following day, on the 29th of July, we organized kind of a soft launch in Jakarta. And because at that time it was quite targeted audience with limited network came, we plan to have another launching, which is today, this relaunching, and we want to have it, Pak Agus and Pak DG say that let's do it in a bigger audience. Pak DG actually, the DG actually would like to come by himself here, but he cannot make it, so Pak Agus represented him here today. So hopefully with this international event, with more audience coming from different backgrounds, this good news, this great news about the guideline for utilization of MPA's sustainable fishery zone for capture fisheries activities by local and traditional communities through partnership can be heard, can be exposed to, can get more recognition, and then people will know that something good is going on in the world of marine and fisheries in Indonesia. So that is actually what I want to add. Pak Amer has summarized it very well, and hopefully with this kind of background, you will see the pathway, what it took before we reached to this state. With that, Lisa, would like to.
Thank you, Aaron. That was wonderful. Thank you. Yes, it has been quite a journey, so it's a very exciting time right now. Next, I would like to invite up Gerald to provide us with some remarks on the importance of these guidelines as far as fisheries improvement, as well as balancing that improvement with the sustainable use of those resources. And Gerald will also provide us with a bit of a global perspective on these kind of guidelines. So, on to you, Gerald.
Terima kasih. Thank you, Lisa. I brought a prop with me. I'm not drinking coffee on stage. I just wanted to use this to tell a little bit of a story. We had a session this morning, which was great, all about how these came to be in the connection with science. And I was walking through the building. I needed coffee because it's the afternoon. So I was walking through the building, and of course, I managed to spill coffee down my front. I thought, oh no, this is not a good omen before going live streaming, and this is going global, but in front of the audience here. And then I thought to myself, no, it's actually a message, and it's a message about balance. Because what we're seeing in these guidelines is a very important balance. It's a balance between conservation and sustainable use. And I said this morning, but I want to keep making this message because it's actually globally very important. It's very important in Indonesia. We're very proud to be working with NMAF and the team to do what little we've done to help this come to effect, but globally, actually it's very, very important as well. It's really about the balance between conservation and sustainable use, but there's also a balance between community and national. There's a balance between people who are responsible for resources and the management of them, and the legislation and the regulations that empower those communities and provide transparency in those communities so that they can better manage those resources. I did want to just give you a little window, and I know you might go to sleep at this point, but you just need to know that globally we have a new set of targets that are about this balance. And some of you may have come across the Sustainable Development Goals. They're getting a little bit of airplay here. But it's this balance between environment, conservation, and social needs, and economic development. And what we're seeing here, through these guidelines that are being relaunched today, is that balance. And in fact, for Indonesia, for those communities, we can actually see an expression of those new Sustainable Development Goals. And whilst we're not talking about that here today, I just want to give you that global context, because as these communities and as the Indonesian government work more to give effect to these guidelines, provide transparency, and these guidelines get put into effect so that communities can get exclusive access and to manage those resources for their benefits, for sustainable fisheries in those locations, and achieve biodiversity outcomes. That's very significant, and it's tremendous, as I said, to be part of this. And our hope is that the lessons here get shared with other countries, but also within Indonesia, we move beyond those areas that are designated as marine protected areas, but we get that same level of transparency and the same opportunity to balance conservation and sustainable resource use in areas outside MPAs. And on that note, I am going to finish my speech. This is a great opportunity, and I'm going to hand back to Lisa, who will go to the most important part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald. Thank you for providing us with that wonderful perspective and how all of this fits not only within the Indonesian environment and political sphere, but also within the global community itself. So thank you for that. Next, I would like to invite Pak Agus up to the front to provide us with some remarks from the Indonesian government's perspective on the guidelines. Pak.
Thank you, Lisa. So once again, I would like to thanks to all of you here for your coming to this our session. I think it's very important for us, and also how we can share with you that one of our effort, how to effectively manage of our marine conservation area for the people. So as a government, we provide like the guideline how to the people and also the manager of the marine conservation area can do the job with the Guideline. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And secondly, I would like to apologize that my Director General cannot join with us here, but I have message from him, so I would like to read this message because it's very important, and I think this is a very great honor for us also, together with you in this opportunity. It give me great pleasure to extend you to all very warm welcome on behalf of the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries of Republic Indonesia, and to say how grateful we are to all of you who have attended our invitation to this launching of the Guideline to Sustainable Fisheries Utilization Zone in Marine Protected Area for fishing for the local and traditional community through the partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportune time to review context and discuss the issue of the mutual interest for all of us, which is marine conservation and small-scale fisheries. The government of the Republic Indonesia is committed to establish 20 million hectares of marine conservation area by 2020, as well as increasing the management effectiveness. Currently, the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, together with the local government and our partners, have established over 17 million hectares across marine conservation area across the Indonesia. The current extent is still going to increase to achieve 10% of the territorial waters as targeted under Convention on Biodiversity. The challenges, how we can manage our conservation areas to improve the biophysical condition and the ecosystem, and also to increase the community livelihood. This objective has been part of current policy within the Indonesian government. Conservation is not the goal of our program. Conservation is approach to achieve the sustainable fisheries management. Under the Indonesian law, coastal and small island management, conservation is also a part of socio-cultural development. Many local wisdom and practices in the marine and fisheries management are qualified to be endorsed and strengthened as conservation area. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia conservation system also consider that marine conservation area and fisheries is inseparable activity. Therefore, the law mandate to allocate the sustainable fisheries zone together with the no-take zone and the core zone. It means the local fisher living and around the area could fish and utilize marine resources sustainably, including with the fish and the other seafood. This approach is critical as Indonesia has a significant number of small-scale fisheries that rely on fishing. Our data recorded that 87% of the total 2.1 million fishers are small-scale. The support and active participation of the local community is key for the success of the marine conservation area management. Community must take a part of the protected marine conservation area and ensure that the area is well managed. And on the other hand, the marine conservation area have to be able to provide the need of community around it, to allow the local communities utilize part of the area to support the daily needs. Ladies and gentlemen, to support the small-scale fisheries within the marine conservation area, the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, through the Directorate General of Marine Spatial Management, have launched a guideline to implement the approach. This guideline is a response to the needs of the small-scale areas. Is the need of small-scale fishers to maintain their livelihood by giving the rural participation in the management of the marine conservation area, including responsible utilization of marine resources to community group living in and around the marine conservation area. We have piloted this approach in several marine conservation areas in Indonesia by allocating the allowing local community to manage their fishing activities within the sustainable fisheries zone. This piece, we can call it a zone for the local community. Is given the local community group by the marine conservation area manager through the partnership agreement. And this model adopt the fishery management area in other place in the world that has been successful in contributing to food security, community livelihood, and also improve the fish stock. Ladies and gentlemen, this guideline is an innovation, a breakout for the small-scale fisheries in Indonesia. It guides the stakeholders and how community could be given the responsibility to sustainability manage their resources, together with the Marine Conservation Area Manager. The Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries has involved communities in many stages of marine conservation area management, from planning, implementation, monitoring, and surveillance. The guideline is expected to address the challenges related to community organizing, utilization of the conservation area, and fisheries management, and thus achieve a commitment between the area manager and the community. With 132 million population along the coastline and 54% of its source of the protein coming from the fish, Indonesia is a good fishing ground as well as the racing area for fishers. With the good co-management, we hope to reduce the risk of fishing among fishers and provide equal room for the fishing for local fishers, and at the same time providing the good room for the fish stock to replenish. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries work together with its partner to achieve the sustainable small-scale fisheries in marine conservation with RARE, WCS, CI, WWF, and also local organization. We are currently working in 3 national marine conservation areas and 5 district waters to promote behavior change the community. The change to the communities, markets, actors, policymakers, and to empower community by organizing themselves, managing their own resources, and compliant with zoning within the marine conservation areas. I would like to deliver the sincere gratitude to all parties who have provided very significant contribution to the guideline. From the LIBI, Marine Affairs and Fisheries Research Center, RARE, PACAT Foundation, CI, WCS, WWF, EDF, Terangi, and all members of the Right-Based Fisheries Management Working Group, and all the related parties that I could not mention one by one. In concluding, I hope the guideline would provide significant contribution to conservation and small-scale fisheries in Indonesia. So now I would like to give the statement for the launch of this guideline.
Bentar Pak, bentar. Ya.
Let me start. It is my great honor to hereby relaunch the guidelines for the utilization of the marine protected area fisheries zone by the local and the traditional communities through the partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pakakus. That was wonderful, and thank you for those wonderful remarks and explaining sort of how this all fits into the larger Indonesian, and for that wonderful relaunch. That was great. I would now like to invite, if there are questions from the audience, I'm sure our esteemed panelists would be more than pleased to answer any questions you may have. So please let me know if you have any questions, and we can do our best to answer those.
Thank you very much. My name is Anissa Mbet. I'm from the University of Hawaii. So So, according to the presentation and the video, I saw that Indonesia is expanding an extra 3 million hectares of marine conservation area. I'm assuming that that's going to be in various places throughout Indonesia. But when I see the guideline, there are 2 places that you were using, as in like the geological communities that you were involved in was Kendari and Mataram. So how flexible is like these guidelines in terms of accommodating the needs for fishermen throughout Indonesia that may have a very variety, diverse practices. So I'm not really sure about all of these things. So maybe you guys that are on the field actually could share about these issues.
Thank you for your question. I'm going to pass the microphone over to my colleague here.
I will try to answer that question. It's a very good question. Perhaps later, if Agus finds it necessary, you may add one. Yeah, the workshops that I mentioned that was held 2014 and 2015, it was called as regional workshop. We chose Mataram and Kendari. It's more of kind of representative of the region clustering. So when we did the workshop in Mataram in West Nusa Tenggara, the participants were not only coming from Mataram, Lombok of that province, but they came from several places in the southern part of eastern Indonesia. So people from East Nusa Tenggara, people from Papua, from Bali, from that area, they came to that also. And then the other cluster, especially the northern part of eastern Indonesia, people from Sulawesi, North, Southeast, South Sulawesi, Maluku, Maluku Utara, West Sulawesi, because of the proximity, so we decided to have it in that area. So having diverse representation from various places, although the workshops were conducted only in 2 places, but we believe the inputs, the feedback that we received in those 2 workshops were quite rich. They represent the diversity of marine and fisheries characteristic of the eastern part of Indonesia. So we were assisted at the time. There was a program Pak Agus under CORMAP. So CORMAP, the previous CORMAP, not the current CORMAP, also support that program very much. And based on those 2 workshops, there is another workshop at the national level, and we validate, we calibrate the results of the regional workshop in that national workshop. So it's really a bottom-up process, but then in the middle we try really to make it more. We refine the draft and And again, even if this is a decree, but I believe in Pak Agus' plan, when we socialize these regulations, there's already a plan, Pak. Next week there will be another workshop I think in Kendari also. But again, it will invite, this time it's also west and eastern part of Indonesia representative will come, and that meeting will, aside from disseminating the guideline, we will also absorb the input, the feedback. And I heard from Pak Agus, if we get good feedback, and then if there is a good opportunity in the future or in the near future to upgrade the level of the regulation from a DG decree to be a ministerial decree, then we will have enough material, we have enough inputs, from this kind of socialization. So don't worry, we will make sure that those diverse characteristic of Indonesian marine and fisheries situation will be reflected in the to be hopefully if it will go through, can be in the ministerial decree or something else. I think that's what I can answer. Pak Agus, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I would like to add some information that we have some like the standard of procedure how to make the decree of DG or minister like that. So the socialize is one of the step when we come to the finance the product for the like decree of Director General or Minister. But like Pak Arwan said, so we will come with the next step because this guideline umbrella still a level in the DG level. This is still not high. So from this guideline, we can come to another part of Indonesia, in the city of Indonesia, like Pak Arwan said, we have 15 the pilot project or the city of in the Korme program. So we will come to this Kabupaten Kota and profit to socialize this guideline, and of course in this opportunity we can get some feedback from the stakeholders. So through this feedback we can help to revise and to make this high position of this degree to this study. I think this is my
Thank you, Arwan and Pak Agus, for that question, or for the answer. I will pass the mic on to you.
Thank you. My name is Juanita from Palau, and my question is, I have two questions. One is, at 17 million hectares, how much is that representative of the total Indonesian waters? And at 20 million, how much is that? And then how did you figure that rights-based management approach would be successful or would be good for Indonesia? Could you give a bit of a background on the, say, traditional management, fisheries management methods of Indonesians from before these modern times? Could you give a little bit of a context to that?
I would like to say to answer for the first question about the we have 17 more than 17.3 million hectare of maritime area in Indonesia. So that's means 5.5% of Indonesia territorial waters. And also that's means 17% of the coral reef of Indonesia we have. And then also 17% including 22% of the mangrove, ecosystem mangrove including inside of the marine conservation area. Maybe the second question, Pak.
Yes, the traditional practices, call it local wisdom, or have been in place in Indonesia for centuries. We have what we call as Panglima Laut in Aceh. Panglima Laut means in English kind of sea commander. So there is someone, a prominent figure, respected. People really listen to this person. That person, then the territory is locally managed by them, right-based of course, and then they have their regulation, their how they have to fish, when they can fish, and in certain boundary, because another Panglima Laut is managing the other area, so they have responsibility for their own territory. And then in West Nusa Tenggara and in Bali, we have what we call it as awik-awik. Almost similar system and related with religion, with the Hinduist religion, and they respecting like certain species that they cannot capture, and they have again when to fish, because it's kind of limiting the access among themselves, and it's quite strong because of that religion-related principles. And then in Maluku and Papua, we have what we call a SASI system, also similar to that one, the traditional system. The strong principle there is about when. So basically Saturday and Sunday is kind of resting day. They believe that it's not good to fish on Saturday and Sunday. Some portions are, some populations living in that area are Christian who also taught in the Bible that they have to respect, you know, the day that, you know, because God is also resting on Sunday, something like that. And then they believe that if they let they leave the fish alone in those days, they believe that that's the time when the, you know, like the kind of reproduction period is going on, and they know that, you know, by giving that allowance, the time allowance, that it helps with the replenishment. And there are other practices, local wisdom, and through this guideline, those practices are now locally recognized, legally, you know, implemented, and in fact strengthened, because in the guideline there is a kind of obligation mandated by the DG to the Marine Conservation Area Manager to help prepare, organize local community, the customary community, to, you know, again, to revitalize those practices, and then to facilitate them to have, you know, like survey, baseline study, assessment, fishery characteristic identification, and then help them prepare a management plan in utilizing that subzone of MPA's sustainable fishery zone, and then facilitate them in crafting kind of agreement, partnership with the MPA's manager, and so on and so on. So yes, the answer is this guideline fully recognize those practices, and in fact make sure that those practices are accentuated and be legally recognized by the government. I hope this answers your question.
Okay, I would just like to thank everybody in close for coming today, and I hope you have learned a little bit about the guidelines and where things are at in Indonesia. And I would like to thank our esteemed panelists for your endowing your wisdom on us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Photo group photo, come. Group photo. Let's say photo group.